Welcome to the Circuit of Success Podcast.
The Circuit of Success Podcast.
With your host,
Brett Gilliland.
Brett Gilliland, Visionary Wealth Advisory.
The Circuit of Success Podcast. Let's start the show.
All right, welcome back to the Circuit of Success. I am Brett Gilliland, and we've got our second F to the 6 Power podcast. Your faith, your family, your fitness, your firm, your fun, and your finances. It's just a way that we like to live life, and so I've got what I'd call, well, normally 6. Today we've got 5 experts. Our fun guy is, he's having fun. He had a prior commitment, and so he's having fun out there in a nice 72-degree day while we're in here talking about all these other stuff. So, but we're going to lead off with my friend Scott Verge. Scott, welcome back. How are you?
Glad to be here. Doing
awesome.
Great.
I downloaded the app last month. And I got into the scenarios where you could do different things at the bottom there, and I thought that was pretty awesome. So I've had that app for a long time and had no idea that you could go in and get different programs. So I don't know if anybody of our listeners did that or not, but I did, and I thought it was awesome. So today, this month, again, talking about faith. If you could, Scott, I thought would be cool is to spend some time talking about, a busy schedule, and you'll hear me talk about this with some of the others, but, you've got 4 kids, you've got work, you're coaching all different sports, you're running around every night. How easy is it to maybe get away from a daily habit when you're in the busy season, and how do you make sure it is a daily habit for you?
Yeah. So I think it's starting off in your morning. I think that starting in your morning with it's part of your routine. So because as we all know that whether we have young kids in middle school, high school, or older, that life can get busy, and when the day starts going, the day's going, and it's not slowing down. And then we get to home at night and get everyone to bed, and then we're too tired to follow up on our commitments then too. So I think for me, it's doing it in the morning, making it part of your routine. So as you mentioned last month, we talked about getting into the Bible app, getting into one of the plans that fits you, and it's something you're interested in, and I think that's part of it. But I think that also part of that I want to dig into a little bit today is just spending some time alone with God in prayer and making that part of your commitment in your daily routine as well. So.
Awesome. So spend some more time on that. What's that look like for you?
So I think in that same app we just talked about, there's a spot in there where it's called guided prayer. You can go into that and it'll walk you through things, but you can also add in things that, concerns that you have, specific things you want to pray for each of your kids, specific things you want to pray for your spouse or your business or whatever's going on in your life. And I think it's important for us to share those concerns and have that conversation with God. I think sometimes we think of prayer as this thing that is, we don't know how to do it, but you're just having a conversation with God. So we do it all day with everybody else. We can have 15, 20 minutes with God where we just spend some time talking with him and sitting in silence and just feeling his presence as well.
Yeah.
So
I'll be vulnerable here. I think for me, I'm curious on your advice on this. I think the reading the Bible can be tough, right? Mm-hmm. It can be tough, and then to truly understand it if you're not familiar with it, how would you kind of dumb that down, if you will, to where you can really understand it more and get more out of your time in the Word?
Yep. So a couple things I would start off with, and we do this in our Bible study that we have here at the office. There's different versions of the Bible. It's saying the same thing, but as we know, language is, from the days in English class, the old English style of writing to more modern day writing. So I would get a translation that's a little easier to read, and then if you want to dig deeper into the details, there's other versions we could talk about. But like the New Living Translation is a very easy read on and helps you understand the Bible easier. So I would maybe start there. Versus a King James Version. Everybody's heard of the King James Version. It's a little more these and thous. It's a little harder to understand, and we don't just talk like that anymore. So the New Living Translation is an easier read. And then I would start in some areas that more stories, like in the Gospels we talked about last month, the Gospels of Jesus, from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Those are all different books inside the Bible. Those books, you can read about stories of Jesus. That's going to be of more interest. You're going to learn Jesus' character. You're going to learn what he's about in those stories, and it's going to keep you interested and help you want to read other parts of the Bible. So
got it.
There are some study Bibles too that at the bottom. So I have a study Bible where it's got probably half of the page it has a lot of different, translations, and it'll explain some of those things, what was going on,
what you just
who,
read.
what, when, where, why, and it'll explain it a little bit more. So, I mean, you have, different translations, but I think those study Bibles are really good too.
And inside those, that's a great point. Inside those study Bibles, there's so the New Living has a study Bible, but the NIV, which stands for New International Version, is a version of the Bible, and the English Standard Version. Those all are both very good study Bibles as well. So, those 3 versions.
Talk about, besides the Bible, what is 1, 2, 3 books that you'd recommend that somebody should pick up today and start reading to grow in their faith?
I've shared this book with you in the past, Chase the Lion.
It's my favorite faith book. It's phenomenal.
It's a great book to read, Chase the Lion. There's probably, drawing a blank at the moment, there's lots. We just did a study called Everyday Revolutionary by a guy named J.D. Greer, who has a church down in the Carolinas, and he wrote a book called Everyday Revolutionary. And so it talks about working quiet lives, being good workers, and being known by our work, because we do honest, good in work, but also being loud about our faith in ways as well. So Everyday Revolutionary, I've not read the book, but I've done the video series of it. I think that'd be probably a good place to go to, but I'm drawing a blank at the moment for
Chase the Lion. I'd recommend it.
Got to throw in a couple. Mere Christianity is one, and then Cold Case Christianity. So for anybody that struggles with how did the Bible come about, how did it get canonized, is it true? Those are a couple books that are really good.
And Mere Christianity was written by C.S. Lewis, and it's about a guy who was an atheist and came to faith and how he came to faith, right? I mean, it's
that one's called what?
Mere Christianity.
Okay. Yeah. And
Phenomenal book.
It was written probably in the 30s or 40s. Does that sound right?
Yep. The Chronicles. It was the same guy who came with the Chronicles of Narnia.
Correct.
I mean, he's done a lot of different faith-based stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. Homework for the month. What are we doing?
So homework for the month, I alluded to it at the beginning. I want us to take some time to be alone with God. So that's in addition to our time reading the Bible and learning about God. So if you want to use the Bible app, you want to use, there's an app called Hallow that's very good with prayer time. There's some different apps. If you want to use your journal, that's a great way to do it. Write down, journal it. I'm going to pray for Jameson, my son. Here's why I'm praying for him. Here's what I'm seeing. Here's what I'm concerned about. I'm going to pray for my daughter, Molly. And journal it out and just share your heart with God. So
I love it. All right. 10 minutes per day. I wrote 10 minutes. You didn't say that, but 10 minutes per day with God alone. Journal it. One of the best ways you can do it. Scott,
can I share one more thing?
Absolutely.
So I want to share one verse goes along with this. So in the book of Philippians, it's in our Bible, towards the end of our Bible. Paul was writing to this church in Philippi, which would be in modern day Greece probably. He says, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. So there's no reason for us to be anxious about what the future might hold if we just spend our time with God. So
love it.
Finish that verse though.
Yeah.
And the peace of God, which transcends all comprehension, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus.
Absolutely.
Right? I think about that peace of God a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I pray for that a lot.
Yeah.
I love it. I got some work to do.
Okay.
I couldn't finish that verse. That's all right. We're working. That's why we're here. That's why we're here in the Circuit of Success, talking about our F to the 6th power. We're going to talk about family now. Thank you, Scotty. Dan, what'd you do in the last month with your wife and kids?
A lot of stuff. We got soccer starting up. I was down in Florida for a work conference last month, but soccer, basketball, hanging out. If you're talking about in terms of weekends with Dad, we did a number of different things. We talked about money and how to live biblically with money, give money away, things like that. So we've had some good conversations.
Awesome. So I would consider everybody in here, but especially our listeners as well, as high performers, right? We're driven individuals. How do you stay present at home when obviously you run your own practice and you worry about your clients and what you got to do to build your business? How do you stay present at home with the family when you could be thinking about something else?
Yeah, it's really hard, Brett. I mean, there's times where we have our phone out. So I think one of the biggest things for me is try to eliminate some of the distractions if I can. So trying to get the phone away, either put it upstairs or just get it away, put it in my office. So that's that would be a big one, is just how do we eliminate some of the distractions. I think another thing that we do is we just say no to a lot of stuff. So we spend a lot of time with our kids and a lot of time, like Colleen is my best friend. I love spending time with her. I love spending time with my boys. So there's a lot of extracurricular activities that I was doing before we had kids that I just say no to now. So I think for us, we've chosen that presence. We just choose to spend a lot of time with our boys.
Love it.
Yeah.
Last month you spoke about you just talked about it, she's your best friend. Is your marriage a priority above the kids?
Yeah.
Right. So how are you intentional about doing that?
One of the things we found during COVID was sauce on the side. I don't know if you guys have ever eaten sauce on the side. Calzones.
The actual restaurant.
Yeah, the actual restaurant. So we started doing that during COVID where we would order and then eat it at home. So we'd put our kids to bed. And so we do that at least once a week. Sometimes we do it 2 or 3 times. But for us, that's been something that we have been very intentional about. I know Tim Hammett's always talked about spending 10 or 15 minutes with your wife, undivided attention. And so on the days that we're really connected is the days where I'm asking a lot of questions and I'm listening. So we try to just spend a lot of time together, a lot of asking questions, trying to understand, just seeing how she's doing and just trying to listen to her.
Boy, it's just like rocket science, isn't it? It's like, God, if I just listen more and I ask good questions and I'm present with my time, like it just works. It's weird, isn't it?
It's pretty amazing.
It's weird how that happens. Talk about the pre-planning that you do or don't do. I'm that's curious about the question. How much or how important is pre-planning your family stuff versus just winging it and letting it happen?
I think the weekends with Dad, it's really important to plan that and have an idea of what I'm going to talk about. But at the same time, I don't know, I guess you're talking about different outings where we're going and, just hanging out or we're hanging out on the weekends. I don't know if I necessarily plan that.
Yeah, I mean, well, like today is a perfect example. I was pre-planning, you don't have a kid in college yet, but we're planning. I'm going to have my second one in college come next fall. So we're already having to plan. And Jason, you know this with kids in college, we're already planning, September, October, November for football weekends. Sure. And maybe we go to Ole Miss when they play Mizzou, or Texas is coming to Mizzou, all these things, right? And so I think the pre-planning for me, it's like I can go ahead and know in my busy work calendar when I'm going to be here and not going to be here.
Yeah, we've got a shared calendar, so that's one of the biggest things that we do is we have a calendar and we put everything in there, and so we just really try to pay attention to that. What weekends are we going to be gone? That's one of her favorite things to do is plan vacations. So we know where we're staying in Florida. We've been looking at houses. Like, we're really excited about that. But at the same time, within my schedule, I know that for the most part, I'm going to be home by between 3:30 and 4:30. So I really try to be intentional about when I'm leaving the house and then when I get home and making sure that we spend enough time there. And she does the same thing. We try to, again, we say no to a lot of stuff because it's easy to get pulled into all these commitments with our school, with our boys' school, with the parish. And so we've tried to be really intentional about what we say yes to, so that way we can spend as much time with the family that we can.
Yeah.
And my wife heard this phrase one time. I wanted to share it. It said, we had our time, it's their time now, and we'll have our time again. And so I think about that as we only get one shot at this with our kids. So I want to be as intentional as I can with our kids while they're in our household. And we'll have our time when they're gone, right? So we're still intentional about the time we spend together, but we want to make it as much as we can about them right now.
Yeah. And I'm not speaking for Katie sitting over here, but her daughter's 17th birthday is today, and it's like you think about that time went like that, so fast. And you're not there yet. But you're right, man. It's a season that we go through, and it goes fast. So I asked this to Scott. Talk about any books that you'd recommend reading, not necessarily just in the family side, but maybe family, but anything else.
Yeah. Resisting Happiness is a good one by Matthew Kelly. That's a good book. One of the books I was going to reference today was The Happiness Advantage and the things that you tend to focus on. Really more of the habit that I've built from that, but The Happiness Advantage is a good book.
Who's that? Maybe don't know.
Sean Acor.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. What's the one about building habits?
Atomic Habits.
That was another great book. Scott was talking about that because I was thinking about habit stacking.
Yeah.
You have a habit already. How do you build onto it? You just keep stacking habits on it. So I think that's a great book to read.
Awesome. Any recommendations for homework this month? What are we focusing on?
Yeah, so I wanted to share this. This is one thing that I've been doing for the last 6 years. I pulled out my initial one. I've probably got 6 or 7 of these. It's this thing called a 3-2-1 journal that I do almost every day. It's 3 new things I'm thankful for, 2 affirmations, and 1 big win. So I look back, and the first day that I did this was April 1st of 2020. You guys remember what was going on in 2020?
Just a little bit.
COVID, right?
Yep.
A lot of negative stuff going on. Wasn't a lot of positive going on. So April 1st of 2020, I had this coach that suggested, hey, write down these things you're thankful for, affirm yourself about something, and talk about a big win. And so I go
Can I
back.
interrupt real quick? So
Yeah.
3 new things you're thankful for.
Correct.
2 affirmations.
2 affirmations.
And then the third one was?
1 big win.
Okay.
So new things, try to make it new things every day. I'm thankful that I get to do this podcast. I'm thankful that I get to hang out with my friends. I had a great coffee with a buddy this morning. My kid did this morning. So just trying to pick out new things that you're thankful for, and so what does your mind do? It tends to focus on those positive things within your day. The affirmations, it's affirming something about yourself, right? I'm a great dad. I'm a great husband. I go back and look at some of these. It's pretty amazing. My wife and kids are truly amazing. They're a gift to be cherished. I practice patience and peace with them. I talk a lot about patience in here. I'm an amazing father and husband. I'm very peaceful and patient with my family. I mean, that theme just comes up over and over. So then we start to believe that, right? You gain conviction around the things you hear yourself say out loud.
Yep.
So the more I say it, the more I believe it. And then the one big win, it could be one of the 3 new things, but it could also be something big in my life that was a big win that day. So for me, you can do the gratitude, but I think the bigger part of it is having the affirmations about that. And I'm not saying this is what I want to be. It's, I'm a great husband. I'm a great father. It's a present tense right now. So I think that would be a great challenge for the listeners for 30 days. Do your 3-2-1 journal, write it down every single day, and see if your mindset changes.
3 new things you're thankful for, 2 affirmations, 1 big win. And you're asking for patience and peace because you've got 3 boys that are giving you every opportunity to not be. Not that girls can't, because they do the same thing, right? They give you that opportunity.
That's right.
That's what kids do to us, especially multiple kids. So.
Exactly.
All right, my man. So 3, 2, 1, and then Scott's was 10 minutes a day alone with God. Thank you so much, Dan Laurie. And now we're up to my buddy Jason Baldus. He went to church this morning. Ash Wednesday as we're recording here. Good for you.
Went to the kids' school mass this morning.
Oh, that's always the best.
Yeah.
I'll be there at, 6 or 6:30 tonight. So, JB, before you made the lifestyle change that you've made, what do you think the biggest lie you were telling yourself was? Might be a stumper.
I think that it was okay that I was not in shape. I was always an athlete, and then you just get older, right? And you age, and I think that was, it's just the lie that it's just the excuse that people want to rationalize away why they let themselves go.
Yeah,
frankly, and that was me.
And you were still staying active. It wasn't like you were not. I mean, you were playing soccer every Sunday.
Soccer on Sundays, but I wasn't putting the work in. I wasn't paying attention to my diet. So yeah.
I love it. Could you, because this is what I've struggled with in past, but now of what I've learned even in the last 5 or 6 weeks. And, a lot of our listeners and friends and whoever just driving down the road out there today, we come up with a lot of excuses on, again, I've got 5 kids. If I'm thinking like you, I got 5 kids. I don't have time to prepare my food. I don't have time for this. I'm coaching this sport. I got to work. I got to be a husband. Like, what did you do to get a new habit, and walk us through kind of your week of preparation, what it looks like to eat the way that you eat now?
Yeah, a lot of it was, again, just that decision, right? Like I said last time, I just drew the line in the sand, and sadly, I think some people used to have to get to that point, right? So it was, for me, just a lifestyle change. So once I had made that decision, then it was non-negotiable, right? So it was, learning different food combinations and what I wanted, what I needed in terms of, from the grocery store to hit my macros and get, what I needed. And then you just plan. So that was, it's like anything, right? It's what we do is planning, right? Yep. Whether, when you plan, you didn't, start a firm without a plan, right? You don't do anything with a family without a plan. I mean, planning is so important. So it's no different in fitness. Like, why don't we have a plan just going into your day, right? I can tell you in the morning, at least plan 2 of your 3 meals, plan your snacks, right? People are just, haphazard about their eating because they don't have a plan, right? Yeah. So, and I know my family makes fun of me, but like, I pack my yogurts, we go out of town, I pack my protein powder, but I know this is what I want to eat, right? So why leave it up to chance? I just plan for it. Yeah. And it makes it easier. And it's not perfect, even when, as we know, and you have a plan, it's going to get, you're going to get thrown a curveball from time to time, and sometimes you have to pivot. But if people would just, figure out what they want to do and try to execute that, even if to 90%, they'd be in a much better place.
Do you eat salsa with a spoon out of a container?
I do not. I love salsa.
We just had this discussion with our friend Tim Hammond over here.
But I understand the rationale.
3 months ago, I'm watching him do this, and I'm like, dude, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, you're eating salsa with a spoon. He's like, how do you eat it? I'm like, well, with a potato chip. And he's like, okay, remove the bad thing out of my life, the potato chip, and eat it with a spoon. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm not getting around that one. I can't get around that. So.
No. I do put salsa with my chicken sometimes. Yeah. Mix it up. But
it's better for you than ketchup.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I think, too, is if you think about if you don't have your yogurts or whatever it is around, I've noticed that with my snacks here at work. If I don't have it on hand, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to hit my goal, and so you got to pre-plan that and go to the store and get it and make it happen. So how has your fitness and diet changed how you physically feel that surprised you the most, do you think?
Yeah, I don't, looking back, I don't ever feel like I was groggy necessarily, but I was probably tired. A lot of it is just mindset too. I feel like I have more energy and just it's confidence too. Just walking around and I don't know. I think the physical aspect connects with your mindset and everything else. So.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. What homework do you have for our listeners today?
So we probably should have started with this last month, but I do think and listening to Grant and the podcast that you can't outwork a bad diet, right? And so I think when people would ask me as they saw as I was losing weight, and they said, what is it? And I said, it's diet and exercise, right? It's not rocket science, but it's diet and big bold capital letters.
80%.
Yeah. And that's true. So I think for me the biggest thing, I never wanted to log my food, but it's just eye-opening. And so I'm not a spokesperson for MyFitnessPal app, but that app is pivotal, right?
Yep.
To log everything that you're putting into your body. It's the snacks here and there that makes you think twice about it. For one, from a decision standpoint, but just to do that. So that would be the homework.
So download MyFitness. Yeah, because
even download it and track, right? To actually try and track. Now I do the paid version. It allows you to scan barcodes, and then it's automatically all the macros are input in there. So it is hard sometimes. Like eating out is difficult because you're trying to guess. All right, how many ounces is that chicken breast, or whatever you're trying to log in there. But I try to overestimate what my intake is because again, it's just the calories are the fuel that we're putting into our body, and what we're expending in terms of energy is what's going out. And so if you're taking more in than you're putting out, it's just science, right? So so that's a big one. So just if people could do that, and try to start logging and do it for a week, right? For me, it became addicting because again, I had a goal I wanted to change, and so now, I'm logging food, and I'll do this too. You talk about planning. I will log my meal. Like I'll have my breakfast and lunch in for tomorrow before I go to bed tonight. Because I know what I'm going to eat, right? Yep. So, and then if I get thrown a curveball and lunch pops up, well, then I'll have my lunch for dinner, and then log my, but kind of know what I have to work with in terms of calories. So. Yeah,
my biggest thing tracking that through that app was what I thought was a healthy deal. You go to a kid's game, and I think about this the first week I was doing it. We had a basketball game, and then it was like done at 9. The next one's at 11. So we didn't have enough time to go home. So we went to a restaurant, and what I thought was the healthy meal, and then I put it in the deal because you can say Panera, and I just said the name of the restaurant. But what I thought was healthy, it wasn't, right? And it was like, oh my gosh! But the old Brett, that was healthy compared to going to Culver's and getting a hamburger and fries. And so I think learning that, but then also
you order a salad that's 1,100 calories.
Yeah, it's healthy. It's a salad, right? Yeah, or the tortilla shell. You go get the tortilla shell. So now put it on a bed of lettuce instead of that. So I think the learning is huge there. So download MyFitnessPal app, either the paid version or the free version. Do that, and then also the plank you talked about last month was awesome. So it's amazing. You start to see the time and you grow there, and I think anytime you see results is a big deal. So awesome. Good. Jay Baldus, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Firm. So we've done faith, we've done fitness, we've done firm. Tim Hammett, you're becoming a regular here. As a leader, we joked about this I think last month and some other podcasts. Your values critically important to you, and I love the passion that you have around them. So how would you recommend for somebody who's like, man, I don't know, my family's important to me, my faith's important, and this one thing's important, but how do you get it where it's so ingrained in your core of everything that you believe? What recommendations would you have for people there?
It's a great question. Thank you for having me again. I think if we go back in our life, we go back to childhood, we go back to being a teenager, go back to being a young adult or even a middle-aged adult, I think our values lie in our life story. I've always said, I think through either joy or tragedy, people have had many events in their lives, and it molds them, it forms them. I think if you go back and you take time, it's not quick, it's not easy, but it will help you define what are those values, what's most important to you. It comes from your life story. That's what I had done with a coach and a consultant.
So you think taking time by themselves, maybe with the journal and just asking a lot of questions, or how would they go about doing that?
I think that's a great way to do it. You know, they will say quiet time, classroom of silence. It almost takes a while to let your brain wake up and to truly focus or relax enough that you can, as odd as that sounds, have clearing the mind, clarity. Yeah.
Talk to our listeners about, obviously I know this answer because it's we're business partners and do this together, but the power of goal planning is one thing, but the power of offsite goal planning is another. Talk about this too.
Yep. So for offsite goal planning, our team gets together every quarter. We leave. We go literally offsite. We leave the premises of where we work every day, our offices. Many times we've gone to the Four Seasons. It's a beautiful hotel. You can sit in their lobby or almost, rent a conference room. Some people will do that. One reason I think it's important, and this is true, I believe, with personal relationships, with your spouse, with your children, with relatives, or even with a close friend. I always tell people that face-to-face time counts and shoulder-to-shoulder time counts. I think the reason behind that, it takes effort. It takes literal labor. You might have to drive to a location if you're seeing a friend or a relative, or even an employee retreat. Some are done out of town for different firms. You have to fly there. You have to plan. You got to pack your bag. You got to pack your briefcase. It shows commitment and I think love or caring for the people you're with. It might cost money depending on the degree of how you have to get there. So when we take time as a firm to drive to a different location, set aside the time, book the location, bring your briefcase, you got to get out of the car, get in the parking lot, go inside the building. It allows you to be fully present, and it shows commitment.
Yep. And I pulled it out here. I carry it with me, and it's every single day we're looking at it. But I think it's the key thing too is you've got the goals written out, right? Mm-hmm. So you do this. I think about our time in November, we do it. You write out these goals, and I think where people can fail is you write down. You have a great retreat, and all this stuff you come away with. You put it on paper, and then it goes in the top drawer of your desk, or just you never see it again, right? I think the power is reviewing that day in and day out, and that's what makes things happen. Agree?
Absolutely. Yep. I keep it in my briefcase, and I will review this goal sheet, exactly the one that you have. We have the same goal sheet, working in the same firm together. If not every week, every other week.
Last question, or I get a couple more questions for you. So why do you think there's successful people that are hard to find joy in their life? There's a lot of people, I think, missing joy.
I think it's going to sound like a broken record, but I don't think hardly anybody takes the time to reflect on their life story. Go back, this might sound redundant and almost, odd or irritating. Go back to childhood, go back to young adult life. Joy and tragedy molds people, which I think will give them purpose. And if they can identify, or even, you've heard me say this, we've talked about this before, a brilliance. They have a certain skill set. So you would ask someone, well, are you using your brilliance or your skill set? Are you doing what you were maybe put on this earth to do? Think back in your life story. Well, the guy or girl could be a very talented person. They might be, I had a friend one time in the accounting world and absolutely hated it. Was very intellectual, very smart, very talented, was an extremely good accountant, very professional, but did not like the work. And so why'd you do it? Well, I went to college, I had to get a degree, I got an accounting degree, and it's a job. But I had a miserable life. So go back
Not
to your
fun.
life story.
On that note, if I can add, one of the exercises I do at the end of every quarter, so at the end of March, I'll be doing this. I go through my phone and I look at every picture I've taken. So every picture from January, I take a lot of pictures. So every picture from January, February, and March, I look at every single picture and I write down exactly. So Tim Hammett and I did dinner here, blah, blah, blah. I'm thankful for every moment. And it's been awesome to go through an exercise that says, okay, because how many of us take pictures and never look at it again?
Exactly.
And so I just get to go through the last 90 days of my life with gratitude on the people that I was with. Like I will write down from pictures we have from today, after the 6th power with these amazing people, right? And write down your names. And it's like, man, that really helps me to slow down and be thankful for it. So I would just add to that.
I'm going to put that on my list.
Awesome. Books you recommend for people to think about professional, standpoint, mindset, growth, whatever it is. What books would you recommend?
I have a simple one. It's called A Life of Excellence. It's almost, you might think of it more like a pocket read. It would probably just review, I call these universal truths. It might seem overly simple, and you can read it probably in 45 minutes, 60 minutes.
I like
it's more
those
of a
books.
pocket read, and that's what's in my opinion kind of shocking about it, because very effective, universal truths, A Life of Excellence.
Homework for our listeners. What's the homework assignment?
Homework assignment for this month. Last month we had talked about values, and then I had suggested people receive feedback from others and try to grow their awareness. I would say this month, if you can try to pay attention to your feelings throughout the day, whatever that feeling might be, there's some primary feelings, maybe secondary feelings. Whatever your feeling is, see if you could label it.
I have
Think about your feelings and label them.
In our journal here is, something you're most proud of, your biggest challenge, try something new, and who did I help? I mean, I think that's some of your feelings, right? Some of your emotions that you're going through. So
That's right.
that's awesome. We'll get the book, A Life of Excellence. If I can read it in 45 minutes, that's a victory. So Tim Hammett, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Katie Martin, the mother of a 17-year-old.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
Well, thanks for talking about finance. And one of the things I wanted to chat about was the emotional cost of being disorganized with money. And so when you hear me talk about that, kind of what comes to mind? How are you helping people out in the marketplace be organized versus disorganized?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are lots of things about money and finances that can come across as being intimidating. So if you even think about the language that gets used around money, it's all, if this is not the seat you sit in, it can be very easy to get overwhelmed and then just kind of lose your focus. So I think that kind of leads people to perhaps not be as organized with it as they can. But I think if you think about one of the habits that can help you be successful with money, and one of the goals that I always have when I'm working with clients, is it's to try to be as intentional with your money as you can. Now that means something different to everybody, but I think that helps you perhaps kind of come up with a goal and a focus to help you be more organized when it comes to your financial picture.
Yep. And it's kind of the same question, but a little bit different, but is the financial clarity that creates confidence. And I know, I'll just share something for me is I know I go in, if not once a week, maybe every other week, and I've got a spreadsheet that I just carry over per quarter, right? And you probably have something similar. But I know for me, when I look at there and I say, okay, here's revenue coming in, here's expenses going out, here's what's left, and then I can pre-plan for that the next 90 days, like that creates a lot of calm and confidence for me. Do you have something like that you share with people, or what recommendation would you have for our listeners?
Yeah, I think my version might start a little bit more at the end and working backwards. So it's trying to start with identifying, one of the first conversations I always have with clients are, what are your long-term goals, but then what are these intermediate term and short-term goals that you're trying to plan for? Because I think what we're ultimately trying to do is get to the point where you've got money, your money working towards those things that are important to you. So I guess it kind of helps create some clarity if you know that these are the things I've identified as being important, and I already know that I have a plan in place for my money to work towards those. It can kind of make some of the day-to-day perhaps be a little bit less critical to stay on top of. So it kind of creates that comfort that you know that you're working towards the things that you've identified as those big things that you really want to achieve.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit opposite for what you said, but that I think either one works depending on what the person's personality and
exactly what I was going to say. There's a lot of
situation.
ways to skin the cat, right?
Yep.
But just making sure you do it and plan for it, I think, is the biggest part of it. I think too, and I'm sure you'd agree with this, over the years you work with, I always call them the two big emotions, the fear and the greed, right? So how do you help people through that mindset of those two emotions?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I always try to help people understand is we all have our own history, and sometimes they're referred to as money scripts. It's kind of these feelings that you come to the table with based on your background, based on your familial situation, based on your faith, whatever it might be. There are these beliefs that you've kind of come ingrained in you with money. And so sometimes, depending on what those are, it can create different habits, whether you are fearful that you're going to run out of money, or whether you feel like spending money might come across as being greedy. And so what I try to do is, again, and I think one of the things I think is interesting to pick up on is we all kind of keep saying the same things over and over in each of our segments, because that's kind of really what gets you to the point of success with some of these things. But I think if you can identify what is important to you in your life, whether it's building security for the future, whether it's enjoying your life today, whether it's traveling, whatever those things are, if you can start there and then get your plan in place to work towards those things, it can help you kind of be less emotional in the decisions that you make using some of these ingrained beliefs that you come to the table with.
Awesome. The challenge or the homework assignment for the month, what is it?
So what I would ask listeners to do is to identify one thing that is important to you and make an automated step towards putting money towards that goal. So for example, if traveling with your family is an important goal for you, then it can be as small as $5. It can be as much as you've got available to you, but just to take that one step towards saying, this is a priority for my family. I am going to deliberately set aside money towards this each paycheck, once a month, whatever it may be, in an automated fashion, so that I know that without having to think about it, I'm putting money towards those things that I've said are important.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And I think what's cool about it is the automated part is we sometimes just spend the money in our accounts because it's there, right? Versus automating it and take it out on the first of the month. It's amazing how it just happens, isn't it?
So if you can identify these big priorities and you make it happen off the top, then you don't have to think so hard about where that money's going, because you already know that you are working towards those big things.
So you use vacation. Where's the big vacation on your bucket list for the Martin family?
Well, ideally we will make a trip to Europe at some point before our kids are gone.
Okay.
So I don't think it'll be this summer. We've got other plans, but
Are you putting $5 a month towards it?
I need to follow my own advice and start working towards it.
Awesome. Katie, thanks so much.
You're never too late to start.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for being on. And I'm going to give a fun challenge. So I would say find the most important people in your life and take the next 30 days and put something on the calendar that you're going to go do. So just talked about planning here. Maybe it's a game, maybe it's a vacation, maybe it's a concert, whatever it may be. But just take that person that's most important, or people that are most important in your life, put it on the calendar, make it happen. And thanks for listening to The Circuit of Success.